Hello.
Hi everyone. Hello.
Welcome to the Musical QuaranStream. We are still going as we are still quarantined. I'm Bri.
And I am Glenn.
And tonight we're going to be doing another one of our musical pitches. It's my turn. And we have been talking about YouTube. And things that we've been watching and doing on YouTube. And last week I talked about one of my favorite things on YouTube, which is cooking shows, especially Bon Appetit. And then we're going to talk about another one of my favorite things on YouTube, which is kind of like really the only reason why I was on YouTube for many years, is I really like ASMR artists. I'm a highly anxious type A person, and having personal attention and whispering and calming stuff is always like really helpful. And that's basically all like ASMR is. And it's not that you can't, go get a spa day or, have a nice conversation with somebody or something like that. But sometimes, like, when that's the thing that, like, calms you down, it's a bit weird to be like, okay, let me find $300 for a spa day, or let me force, my very busy partner to sit and, like, whisper and calm me down. So it's really, really helpful that these ASMR videos are up and going. And I'll talk a little bit about, like, what it is and why I think it would make a good musical. But to first get started, I guess we'll talk about our fun shirts here.
Yes.
I'm wearing a Taco Cat shirt from Chewy's, which is a restaurant chain. There's apparently one in Richmond, but we got this one from Columbus, actually on your birthday.
Yeah.
A few years ago.
That's true. It was a birthday trip out there to go get some tacos.
And we just like it because, of course, Taco Cat spelled forward and backwards is Taco Cat. We have cats.
Yes.
Tacos are great.
And then I know it looks like I am wearing a shirt that says "Eat More," but this is a brand new shirt that this lovely person sitting next to me bought for me. And what it is, you see, it has a nice donut on it. And if I just stand up a bit, it says "Eat More, Whole Foods."
And this is from Carter Family Orchards. They do apples, they do peaches, and we were looking for a local business to support, and so we got some peach syrup and some Honeycrisp apple butter. We got this shirt, and then, like, my favorite thing, which, like, I don't like pickles, just to be 100% honest, but we got Kickles. I don't know if you can see that. It's really, really, really good. I'm not a big pickle fan, but I liked Kickles, and I think what kind of makes them special is they have, like, these warming chilies and garlic and sugar, and it's super good. And we were able to order it online, and they actually called us and said, well, would you like to pick this up because you're really nearby? And we're like, COVID-19, probably not. And so we had them ship it, and it's the first thing that we got shipped to in this apartment.
Yeah, so, and this is, you guys saw this on Saturday when we were doing our pitch from here, but we are in the new apartment, and this is...
We got some guitars behind us now.
Guitars are stacked up behind us.
We used to have nothing behind us, but we haven't really unboxed anything. We haven't really done anything yet. We need to get more storage stuff. We had 2 dressers back in Ohio, and they were very heavy, and they were made of, like, real wood pine. They were from IKEA. And the movers were like, oh, cost you $6,000 to move these. And so we said, no, we won't do that. So we need to install some more shelving that's just kind of available in our unit, as well as, like, buy some more furniture and do some more stuff. Like, I think we definitely want to hang our guitars and mandolin and all that fun stuff on the wall so we would feel more available to play them whenever we wanted. And we'll get there. It's just going to take a really long time, and we're kind of hoping, as you guys heard in the last episode, since I got furloughed from my job for about a month, maybe we'll do it during that month.
Yeah.
So we'll try to, get this place ready for visitors in case COVID-19 ends and y'all lovely people would like to come see us.
Yes, because right now we've got everyone who's checked in is someone we know. It's family. We've got Bristol is checked in. Jenny is checked in. Hello, everybody. It's lovely to see you. And last Saturday we had some technical difficulties with our stream. Hopefully we won't have that much trouble today. We're still
having issues.
Yeah, we're still waiting for internet to actually be connected here at the apartment. we're connected right now through a public Wi-Fi spot. That's, the cable companies now put up public Wi-Fi spots everywhere.
And that's a bit of a problem for me to work at home because all of my stuff is super highly encrypted and
doesn't want to connect to anything like that.
So I've been trying my hotspot. I've been trying this public. I cannot get anything to connect to my work computer. My laptop is from 2008, and so that's not really a great alternative. So we're kind of in a little bit of a position where, if one of us has to be on the computer, the other one really can't. And so we're really happy that we get to keep this show going. But as you kind of see below, we are encouraging folks, especially for this next month, if you can support our QuaranStream, that'll certainly help. Obviously, it won't magically bring the internet working. From what we were told is the unit is hooked up correctly for cable and internet. They just never reconnected the units back into the grid after the fire, because they said clearly when the fire burned everything down, that severed the connection. So I kind of talk about it's like when you have a paraplegic and their legs are perfectly fine, the brain's perfectly fine, but the spinal cord is severed. Yeah. So it's like there's just no way for Comcast grid to kind of communicate with us here, even though we have power, even though we have a wall jack. The guy came out on Monday and said hopefully it was going to be fixed by the evening, and he didn't want to make any promises, but maybe it'll be fixed by this week. Yeah. And I think for somebody going on furlough on Memorial Day, I'm just like, I'm losing time to work the work that I can work, but so far so good. I'm a nervous person, as I mentioned, and that's why I listen to ASMR. Got it back around.
But just so you guys know, we don't expect any technical difficulties this time. Mm-hmm. But every now and then, public Wi-Fi, can have that moment where it's just suddenly like, hey, I'm just going to drop for no reason at all. And if that happens, just relax a couple of minutes. We'll try our best to get back on the air. And
we'll keep going, and we kind of hope that we'll be able to upload ads as we have been. We'll be able to upload the past couple videos. I think it's just really like the past 3 days. Like, I haven't even really been on Facebook because it's really been impossible to even do things I enjoy on the limited access that we have. And especially with COVID-19, there's no real alternatives unless you're going to park outside a McDonald's, or, there's not a Starbucks, there's not libraries, there's just not things open. And so it's been very stressful.
And stress is, as you pointed out, one of the big reasons that people turn to ASMR, which, okay, so for people out there who have not heard of ASMR. Yes. What's the whole concept? What's the idea?
So it stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response, ASMR. And basically all that means is like when your body is relaxing, you tend to maybe feel like some tingles or some fuzzies in like your brain or your fingertips. It's just like usually when you get like a lot of personal attention. So if you ever got to the hairdresser and you're just like, ooh, you get like really those nice pleasant chills from getting your hair washed, or if somebody's going to do your nails or shave your face or something like that, it's usually when somebody is being very, very intensely cared for, and that's actually just part of who we are as mammals and as primates, and it's a really great kind of like social, biological response that we have to social gathering, and I feel like a lot of us are probably missing that, being socially isolated. But ASMR has been a huge community online, and quite often they are soft whispers, or they talk really quietly, because a lot of people use it to calm them down to go to sleep, especially if they're having a hard time relaxing. I know I got into it because my mom, when I was a little girl, would do that. She would just be like, relax your head, relax your arms, relax your fingers, and I just loved that. And so she was kind of like the very first, I think people had tapes of this probably in the 70s or 80s, like obviously there wasn't YouTube, but it's made a huge YouTube following, but I don't think that it's been really able to be translated into any media. I think that there's been like a really huge misconception that it's like almost an escort service or something like that. Well, just because people, feel have pleasant feelings about it. And I think the closest thing people can kind of relate to it is like sex work, although it's really not related.
And to be clear here, the whole concept that what makes ASMR versus like actual personal attention, like someone actually shampooing your hair or something like that for you, is that ASMR is a response to audio, to sound.
Right. Exactly.
So this is basically, a lot of the ASMR artists will use binaural microphones, which is like two mono microphones placed about the distance of an ear apart.
Yeah.
That way...
Some of them are shaped like ears, which is really neat.
Yeah, that way, which if you put your headphones on...
You'll hear different things.
Yeah, you're basically hearing exactly as you would if you were standing in the place of the microphone.
Yeah, and also, like, it doesn't have to be, like a hair washing scenario. Sometimes it just is, if people hear, like tapping, or, you know, bubble wrap popping, or...
paper rustling, that sort of thing. Lots of different sorts of, like, soothing sounds.
Yeah. Like handwriting. Like, a lot of times people say, like, oh, I could, you know, hear the teacher writing with chalk, and that would, you know...
And another thing that I've noticed in ASMR is there are ASM artists who will be like, so this ASMR doesn't contain actual talking, it contains mouth noises.
Yeah, scratching or unintelligible whispering or something like that. And everybody kind of has like their own thing. Like for me, because I really like theatery stuff, I like a lot of the role play stuff. I think that's super fun. I think that would be something like, for me, I would always joke when I was doing counseling that I would be like the ASMR counselor. Like, well, college didn't work so well for you. You're just going to have to retake calculus.
And I have encouraged her. She needs a YouTube channel where she does that. But yeah, and it's a very soothing thing. It's a very relaxing thing. And for people who aren't familiar with it, when they come across a video of that,
it's weird.
They kind of look at it and go, what kind of weird fetishy thing did I just stumble on? And some of the offshoots of ASMR do get a little bit fetishy.
Yeah.
But ASMR in general is, I think of it as sort of an outgrowth of the 70s and 80s self-hypnosis tapes.
Yeah. So, and I would say it's probably no worse fetishy than, you know, some artists that are online that, you know, you'll always get a certain group or population or even just person that are requesting you to draw something and you're like, I like money. I like to eat food. So I'm going to draw that because I can do that and I can do that for this person. They're not hurting anybody. And so I kind of feel the same way as like ASM artists where, you know, it's not anything that I think crosses any personal boundaries or anything, but there's definitely like certain things that people like, which there's like a whole horror community, which is like, I can't watch, I don't like horror. If you've watched the show, I can't do it. But they'll be like, and then Pennywise kidnaps you and whispers softly in your ear. And I'm like, that sounds horrific. But there are people who, that is their very specific thing. And the ASM artists, you monetize your video, you get views. So there are people that will do that.
Oh, dear.
So it really runs the whole gamut from everything of somebody's just going to crinkle plastic or scratch, you know, scratch or tap different things, to whole role-playing things, to, you know, maybe even just, like, sometimes, like, visual things. So it's like sitting in front of a fire so you hear the fire crackle and then you just see kind of, like, different visual things kind of happen. But I think, like, your idea of, like, the self-hypnosis or maybe some sort of psychological therapies or stuff like that, it's really kind of akin to that, although these aren't anybody's licensures. This shouldn't be used as therapy. It's really just as like novelty and calming. And
yeah, I think of it as like people who realized, hey, the self-hypnosis lose weight now tapes didn't work for me.
Yeah.
But I really liked being able to, like, sit calmly and listen to someone speak softly for an hour.
And, you know, like, what I also like about many of the ASM artists as well is they'll just be like, you know, you worked hard, I'm proud of you, you did a good job, and, like, you don't, I feel like we live in a society where love and reinforcement like that is not really, like, cool. Like, you don't really go up and say, like, you tried your best today. Good for you. I'm so proud of you. That's something that we get from our partners or our family or something like that. And even not even then, because we're all busy people and we all have our own lives and our own things that we have to deal with. So I think that sometimes, the artists that do that type of stuff where they just say, hi, I'm recognizing you. I mean, it's a bit of a weird type of theatrical moment, but I feel like that's what theater does, and that's why I kind of always hope that this would be a neat blending. I don't really know what the story would be, if I'm 100% honest with this pitch, but what I really think that this could advance is, if we talk about things like Cirque du Soleil, or even Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, where there was these huge technological advancements where old theaters that had not been updated since the 20s all of a sudden got rigging so that people could fly, all of a sudden got updated, sound going around everywhere. A lot of opera companies have, things that go on your face or in your ears so that you can kind of have your own automatic translations, especially if you're hard of hearing or you have a hard time seeing, so that things are more accessible. And I feel like if you're going to do an ASMR type of musical, that would be the time to update that technology. Yeah. I think that would be a really kind of cool experience where something that's maybe only reserved for, a amusement park ride, where it's maybe a clip or a set, because I could totally see how when you go to amusement park, sometimes they'll blow in your ears or they'll vibrate your seat or something. And I mean, it's a bit out there. I'm going to be 100% honest. You are not going to see an ASMR musical in 2021. It's just not coming. I mean, I'll be really impressed with the Fringe show that decides to do it and make it work. But I was I do think that if you would update theatrical technology in a way that somebody not only feels like it's this big shared experience of everybody in the theater, but having these elements of technology that can give you that personal attention, that can give you that sensory experience, I think would be really neat. So I had always dreamed of having a type of show where you would have text and you have internet, and then I think the past couple years have brought us Dear Evan Hansen. They brought us Be More Chill. They brought us Oscar at the Crown, where they were all that type of show, where you would see text, you would see the internet in different screens, you would see videos that you'd see on YouTube. So, I mean, I think that we're getting there, and I think a lot of up-and-coming shows are trying to do this, so that we're not just living the broader world, but we're also living kind of the technological world that we're experiencing as well. I remember back in the 90s, it used to be well, there's the internet world and there's the real world. Well, now everything's kind of the real world. I think that we were really lucky. We grew up in a time where all your weird stuff was on the internet, and then you're a normal person, and now people search, Facebook to make sure you're normal so that they hire you. So, I mean, there's really no difference, whereas there was maybe this otherworldliness, I think, when the internet first started. Now it really is kind of more ingrained than ever, which is why I think a lot of us are turning to technological things during COVID-19 in order to connect with other people. And even though it might not be what most people see as traditional theater, I think seeing something in an ASMR high-tech type of show would be really, really neat. Why I don't think it would be done, I mean, I hate to kind of knock my own pitch here. It would be expensive. It would be really expensive to have a very quiet, auditory, sensorily based show. Something like Stomp is very easy to do. It's loud, and there's a lot of it. And you can have these really big, gregarious members. This involves a very introverted and quiet and inward, and you want to be able to have a spa-like experience with 300 other people in the room.
Well, now, I mean, let's think about this a little bit, because you raise a lot of interesting concepts and everything, and I don't think you're going to see the Nederlander Theater rewired to allow this kind of experience. But there are tons of off-Broadway and off-Broadway theaters that are small enough that an experience like this would still be expensive to set up, but it's possible. And so then I start wondering about what this kind of show... Okay, obviously you would need the ability for performers to whisper and perform softly on stage and be heard. So you're looking at acoustics and you're looking at electronics and things like that. But we've already got like assisted listening devices in some theaters that sort of aren't the best, but could be seen as like a way of moving toward that sort of thing. It would be interesting. Go ahead.
Well, like I said, I was like, I don't think it's impossible. I think it's expensive.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing with Broadway nowadays is nobody wants to really take risks because you can't lose money. You know, it's like everybody wants to kind of gain back money. As I kind of talked about in past episodes, like I've been watching Waiting in the Wings and What Went Wrong and stuff like that. And a lot of times, even shows that are doing fairly well, but just not as well as they would have hoped, like you made $800,000 instead of $1 million last week, they're going to kick you out in the off chance that somebody's going to do better, right? Because everybody wants to make their investment back. Everybody wants the next Hamilton. So I think that, there might be opportunities that if you can get a bunch of secondhand stuff or maybe record some personal audio or reuse their phone to some capacity. Maybe it's kind of a fringe idea, but I do think that this is where theater is going in the future. You know, maybe if it's not Broadway theater, you know, sometimes a lot of things, like they were talking about Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, probably shouldn't have gone to Broadway. It probably should have gone to Las Vegas. Yeah. So maybe it starts at a place like Las Vegas where there is a lot of money and there are going to be a lot of people wanting to get that sensory experience. You know, whether it's I want to get suntanned or I want to get drunk or I want to win $1 million.
Well, and see, the thing is, though, that with something like this, a fringe show is not the size you're looking for it to eventually be. And Lola, as you can see, is now a lot more comfortable with the new condo.
Lola's here.
And with hitting me with the tail.
Talking about a personal sensory experience.
Yes.
That tail in your face.
Just like old times. But the thing about a fringe show in terms of moving this forward is it acts as proof of concept.
Yes.
It allows you to say, hey, we thought about the show, and here's how the show is going to work. And then off, you know, a fringe festival show becomes a cabaret show, becomes off Broadway.
And there's been certainly plenty of shows like Bloody Belly Andrew Jackson and Natasha Pierre in the Comet of 1812, where they have totally changed around theatrical space. Yeah. Where they turned it into more of a nightclub, and everybody sits at dinner tables. And so I think... Again, I think all this is possible to have happen. And I even feel like maybe it does fit a little bit better as like a Cirque du Soleil, where it's just like, just little vignettes, little moments of things instead of having a story. Yeah. And I think that's what would make it a little bit different as well, is like, you know, you wouldn't necessarily have... you know, a thread line. I mean, there could be something kind of like loosely there, but I think overall, like, a lot of the experiences are just like, now we have some crinkling, now we have some tapping.
Well, and now here's the thing, because this is pitched for a musical, does the ASMR continue into the songs, or is the ASMR scenes...
Well, that is the nice thing about ASMR, is there's everything from, like, Tibetan singing bowls, there is soft-sung lullabies, there is, you know, gentle, like, guitar or flute type of music, so I feel like there could be a lot of different things there, but it would be, like, a very, almost, like, Sleep No More experience, more than a big, like, you know... brash Broadway number.
Yeah, what I was thinking of as we were talking about ASMR and everything is some of the work that Brian Eno has done since the 80s, really, with like the Music for Airports series and all that, where it's music that's intended to be... It is instrumental music that is intended to be, if you're looking for interesting music to hear, you can tune in and you get a very interesting musical experience. But if you're not really focusing on the music sort of blends into the background around you and just becomes a part of the environment. So I could see musical numbers in this show created through that sort of ambient sound of musical sounds that maybe include some of the ASMR sounds, like the rustling and the scratching.
Well, and there would be more traditional music, but there's also like that very, it almost feels like your mind is being massaged by the wow, that type of like psychedelic type of music.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was like, I think it would be cool. I think it would definitely be something that I would really enjoy seeing. I know my problem is I sat on a few different theater boards now where I pick a season and I work with other community members or I work with other board members, and we go ahead and we try to select shows that we think are going to sell for the next year of seasons. I did this in Florida. I did this in Blacksburg. I've done it here in Central Virginia. But my problem always is I'm the person, I'm not so young now, but I would always be the young person. And then my problem is I would always be like the avant-garde or the new theater or the weird theater person. And so I highly, highly recognize that for me, this is a very attractive idea. Like, it's a new thing. I love novelty in the theater. I love people taking risks and chances. But I also recognize, like, if people are going to renovate a whole theater, if people are going to invest in the show, that's very scary. And so even though there's probably a small group of us who'd be like, this is amazing and very cool, and everybody has to go to it at least once to just have this experience. And I feel like it's a very hard, I think out of all the pitches I planned, I think this is the hardest pitch, because although I think that it could be sold as a novelty, I don't see it as something running like Cats or Phantom or something for decades. I see it as something where, you know, everybody in New York has to go see it, and maybe it becomes like the it ticket, but kind of after that season's over, you know, maybe the technology then gets rerouted other places. Yeah. Well, maybe we can then do, you know, South Pacific with this really great wind that blows in your ear or something. Yeah. But I see it as advancing the art in a very certain way, but I don't see it as a long-running type of show. Right. And so I feel like the actor in me probably doesn't enjoy it as much as, like, you know, having a character and singing songs and crying on stage. But the technician and the director and the audience participant in me really like it. Yeah. Because I'm a loud person, so I would not be like, you know, they're on stage being like, now I'm going to crinkle some paper while I pop some popcorn. But I see this as something that I think we've seen before. Like I said, not only in things like Cirque du Soleil, but even like Maria Abramovich, or, you know, there's certainly, it crosses a bit of a line with performance art and performance, and I think if maybe it was New York in the 60s or maybe even New York in the 80s, it might get in there. But I feel with everything kind of being Disneyfied and really polished, it's a harder sell.
This is a thing that would have to come up through the Fringe festivals. I honestly think so. It'll have to claw its way
get a billionaire involved. Like, I mean, if there was any, sorry, billionaires, if you're watching our show, I mean, I'm just going to give you a heads up. If there was any reasonable billionaire out there that just wanted to advance cool tech, yes, this would be the thing I think to invest in. I think, like I said, if it's not going to just advance theater tech, I do feel like as somebody who has bad eyesight and bad hearing, it's something that could advance ableism, you know, in general, make people kind of experience the world in a different way, or make people kind of more empathetic towards kind of certain experiences. So for me, I feel like it's a worthwhile endeavor and something in doing, but a lot of my past and my ideas, it's not going to be as sexy or cool as curing cancer. You know, there's always money that needs to go to important stuff. So I feel like unless you have somebody that this is a pet project, it's probably going to be harder to do. It's probably going to be harder to have somebody sit there and work on a very specific piece of technology to give you tingles up your spine or to cause your whole sensory experience. It's not just like, oh, I'm listening and seeing the show and I feel cold because I'm in the theater, but everything about being in that environment is purposeful and part of the show. And so that's why I think it's a neat idea, and I think it's cool, and I wish I had $1 billion so I could just like do this myself. But no, I think that would be the big thing, is you have to have somebody with a lot of money making this a pet project, and then finding alternative uses for maybe people with Parkinson's or maybe people with ALS or something where it would be able to help others in a broader perspective after the show was done.
Yeah. and I genuinely think that there's the possibility for it all, which, as you said, you didn't think it's an impossibility. It's just not a thing that's going to happen like right away. It's not poised to happen right now.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to say, Dixie Chicks musical. Okay, you can sell people on that, right?
Everyone knows what you're going to see from the Dixie Chicks musical.
Yeah, it's a lot harder to say, this kind of like one area of YouTube, and even though it gets millions and millions and millions of subscribers and views and people make livings off of doing this, I want to do it as a theatrical experience so that your whole body is involved in the story and the progression of the show, and hopefully this gives us new ways to experience and feel and do things with our bodies in the world. But it's a little sci-fi. But that's why I like it, because I feel like those are the shows that are hardest to do or hardest to see. And so, like you said, if you can do a Fringe, or if you could do an off-Broadway, you can do a proof of concept, you can find initial investors and make it the IT ticket. It's a hard sell, but I think you could do it. And I think it would be really kind of neat to see how that would not only advance theater technology, but how that would also advance maybe even like medical technology. Yeah. And I think that's always been like my personal thing. I currently work in clinical research. Well, I do currently work in clinical research. Yes. I will go back. But I've always loved theater, and I've loved how theater can tell the stories of what it's like to live with schizophrenia or stroke, or how doctors can use theater to better communicate. And I feel like using technology in this type of communication as well is something that, we hear the stories and we kind of hear all that, but I think that we also forget, like, when technology advances, we can better communicate as well. And I think that this type of show would leap that advancement by huge margins, and I think could really change the world. And I think it'd be neat. But I don't have money to do it, so somebody out there, give me money.
There's the coffee down there.
I promise I will find you the best engineers at like Virginia Tech and Stanford, and we will go to town and create wonderful, beautiful new things in theater.
Warren Buffett, we know you're watching. You're always watching. You can just look like down here. We have the coffee page. Just stop by and tell Coffee that you want to buy us like 10 million coffees, and we will get this show going for you. All right.
Yes. We'll limit how many of those are actually coffee.
Yes.
But no, I was like, I think that we've always had that dream. My dad talked about, he was born in 1944, and he always talked about how in the 60s and 70s he worked for the Air Force, and he would go around taking parts of the space shuttle and talk about how cool it was that food wouldn't be grown in dirt, food would be grown cleanly, or how cool it would be for, kids in rural Alabama and Florida to go into space and learn engineering, and how to clean water and all that fun stuff. And how we've kind of lost a lot of that in favor of a lot of other capitalistic directions. Like, my dad remembers, like, there used to be a car that would run on water, and that just never happened. So I feel like it's kind of fighting that same fight, where it's like, we want to go back to the 60s and 70s where anything was possible, and future and plastics, and I'd love to kind of see that happen as well with the diversity of theater, the diversity of stories that we're telling in theater, how we're telling those stories, even if they're not linear, even if there's not a through storyline, and especially with the technology that we use to tell the stories, because as a Gemini, I love any tools that help us tell stories better. I love any tools that help us communicate better, and that's why I love musical theater, because music is one more piece of my arsenal that I can tell a story, and I can be empathetic, and I can communicate with you. So if I if I don't use music and if I don't use dance, then what's the whole purpose? Like, I have all these arrows in my quiver. I got to use them all. And I feel the same way with this type of technology.
Yeah.
If we can get our senses fully immersed, it's going to make us better listeners. It's going to make us more empathetic. It's going to make us more compassionate, which is what theater should do anyway. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm pitching an ASMR musical.
There we go.
Hey! And it looks like we might have had a little bit of hiccup with our
time. We might have lost our, we may have lost our stream. Yeah. But we are still recording. We are still, yeah, it looks like we lost our net connection pretty much in general.
We'll have internet by the end of the week, hopefully.
Yes. Well, that was not completely unexpected, but yeah. I think that's a wonderful pitch. And most of the pitch got out before we lost our stream. And
it'll be up on YouTube, so if you've kind of been abandoned by us, unfortunately, right now, please look us up on YouTube. We'll hopefully have it up by this weekend. Mm-hmm. We'll have 3 or 4 things to upload by that time. If you want to support local businesses, we're always a big friend of the Virginia shop. We love her. Tiffany's doing great work out there. Kickles from Carter Mountain. Yes. Go get some Kickles. We love Great Harvest here in Charlottesville. They've been great. If you know of a brand or somebody that you need support,
hey, we're back on.
Yay! We would really love to support your company or business. We will buy a shirt. We'll wear it on the air. We'd love to kind of talk to people about it every single week. We would like to try to get things nice out there. And if you feel so inclined, we still have merchandise for this show.
Yes.
We would encourage you to buy a Virginia is for Social Distancing, since it looks like we'll be doing that until October. Mm-hmm. Please buy a shirt. That would help support us, especially during my month of furlough.
Yes. All right. And thank you guys for tuning in.
We love you.
Yes, we love you all. Make certain that you wear your masks. If you're able to stay indoors, stay indoors. Take care. We love you all. Yes, have a great night, Jenny. Have a great night, Crystal.
I'll still be making masks if you need them.
Yes, she's still...
If you have elastics and they're not working out so well, let me know. I will make some stringies that you can tie.
Yeah.
So, I just had a notification that my shipment got sent back because they don't believe that I live here. But I'm working on getting it, so I'll have more fabric soon. I'd be happy to make some more masks if that will help keep folks safe out there. I know that we try not to go out very frequently, but with this move, we have been blowing through masks like crazy. So, we currently have 5 that's in rotation. And I know that we're going to be really happy to make a few more for our own house. And so we'd be happy to pass those along. We sent out some masks to your brother and one of my former students just this earlier in the week. My sister has them. My parents have some. So, I'm available.
All right. All right, everyone. We love you. Have a good night. Stay safe. Remember, take care of yourselves because we're not there to take care of you, all right? We love you all.
Bye.
And thank you for tuning in, and we will have this whole internet thing sorted soon.
Yes.